I was shocked basically that Bonnie Blue does just sleep with people. That was the thing that really shocked me about the doc. I had just naively, as someone who hasn't watched any of her content or any of her contemporaries' content, I naively assumed that it kind of was bollocks and that they were all actors, that they were all OnlyFans performers working with her, and that it was all a shock tactic. And then, as you say, it's like, oh no, they're real guys, they're young guys in this queue, really young guys, mostly. And then to kind of watch them go into that room, and as you say, they show quite explicit scenes in that documentary. And it's like these young guys are finally getting to be porn stars. And it's almost like that's what they want more than having sex with Bonnie. It's like, this is the only room in the world where you can slap your penis against someone's genitals, and that's what you're doing porn.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it makes you, and I thought it was fascinating what something she said on your pod, which was like, there are times a lot of them can't get hard, there are times a lot of them can't finish because they're nervous or whatever. But there'll be some of them who are like, God, I've been having sex with these bloody, normal women for so long who don't want me to just pretend to be a porn star for 10 minutes. Finally, I can live. And so I did a kind of podcast documentary series for BBC Sounds a few years ago about pornography and the reasons that I'd quit watching it. And my thing at the time was like, I am, and maybe we are, one of the first generations who spent more of their life watching porn than not. Do you know what I mean? At the time, I was in my late 20s. I probably started watching pornography at like 12 or 13, as I guess is normal, right? Please, is it?
Yeah.
So don't leave a pregnant pause there.
No, it is.
But like, and so by the time I was like 28, 29, I was like, I've spent more of my life watching pornography than not watching it. And like, sorry if this makes me sound like a loser, but I suspect this is true of most men in the UK of that age group. I have definitely spent more time watching pornography than having sexual intercourse. Yeah. So in terms of my brain's learned behaviours about what sex is, of course, it is far outweighed by pornography than it is reality. And I think if there's one thing you can accuse Bonnie Blue of, it's legitimising that. And when she says, I just want to be covered in cum, maybe you do. I quite like waking up with a condom wrapper on my face. Maybe you do. But I think and a lot of her stuff, I'm like, you know what, if she fucking enjoy it, let her enjoy it. But I think one thing that maybe could have been pushed back upon a little bit more is what that does to young male expectation. And then what I find amazing about her, she speaks like a Reform MP. The directness, unapologetic. Yeah. She knows her audience. She knows there are a lot of dark men all over the country who really want this thing, despite the fact that none of us like it. And you guys are used to platforming Reform MPs, so it should have fit right in on this show. But that's the one thing that I think that could have been like hit harder on her. Is like the thing of like, fair enough, you enjoy this. Fair enough, you're making loads of money out of this. And fair enough, there'll be thousands of other content creators who are going to do a similar thing, make loads of money, not have to, put up with a recruitment job in the NHS that maybe pays 70 grand a year and you had a great time actually, but whatever. But what is that doing to like millions of young men's expectations of the women that they're going to have?
In my head, I thought that this is and naive because I have reflected on it over the last couple of days. But in my head, I thought that was obvious. Like I thought that I think it's sort of like glaring, like flashing, like watching a lot of pornography, Bonnie Blue making herself a cum dumpster effectively for 1,000 men. That is how she describes herself.
No, I know.
I'm not being rude.
It's so bad, isn't it? It's like you say that, me, I'm like, whoa. And it's like, no, that is what she said.
That is what she says. I thought that is obvious, that this is going to have a very harmful implication on like wider society, that this is going to have a bad effect, a negative effect on young men. And so it confused me that people wanted me to point that out, because I thought that we were sort of laying it on a plate, like, here's this person who is exploiting the system and arguably exploiting a lot of young men, a lot of young virginal men. This net bad. I thought that was obvious.
Has porn not always been extreme?
That's what I think. I think it's actually really unfair to lay all these things at Bonnie Blue's door.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right.
Bonnie Blue's
she's a byproduct of a bigger system.
Bonnie Blue's only been famous for like past 18 months, if that. And all these things about porn have always been true. Like,
but I asked her that. I asked her that in the interview. I said, you are the sort of the culmination of the system. And I asked her about, the sort of Janice Turner, is that right? In the Times?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, the journalist who wrote the Times piece that essentially laid a lot of the blame at her feet. And I said, like, is that fair? Because really, you're sort of the culmination. All of the ideas that Bonnie Blue has, they're not new.
No, but I think I don't think it's just that it's extreme. I think there's a really key difference, which is that previously it would be a high production, expensive cameras, and to use the old like stereotype, it'd be a pizza delivery guy who ends up getting a blowjob instead of a tip, right? Bonnie Blue's whole thing is authenticity. And so if you're talking about the influence it's going to have on a young male audience, especially when they know that's not even a performer doing that with her, that's a real guy just like me, I think that means it does.
That's also existed. Like fuck a fan things have existed. Like,
but this is real.
Advent of the internet.
But this is maybe the only one that's
it's not.
But to the extent of like of the quantity.
The quantity for sure. Like that is
I think it's fair to say
beauty's quantity. Beauty's quantity.
but how famous she is. That's the point of difference.
And how much content is put out though. Like as she said, she's doing 200 TikToks a day. There's so much of her content everywhere. And in terms of like how many times
have we even counted the TikToks?
I have to say, I believe the 1,000 men in a day. I don't believe 200 TikToks a day. That is, as a content creator myself, I was like, I believe you can fuck 1,000 men. There's no fucking way you're doing 200 TikToks a day. That's the thing. But in terms of like what young men's eyes are consuming, you're watching her fuck a quote unquote real person, and after the doc, it's like, oh no, they really are real people. Way more than you've ever watched any other porn star fuck a quote unquote real person. I know what you're saying, that fuck a fan thing has always been a thing. That'd be like, from a young guy who did used to watch a lot of porn, that'd be like something they did every now and then to kind of quirk things up a bit. Mm-hmm. That's all of Bonnie Blue's content, and she's the most prominent porn star that there's been in a really long time in terms of like mainstream legacy media platforming her, as you guys so kindly did.
Yeah.
You see, I disagree with that.
How many more of them have been on Good Morning Britain? Do you know what I mean? And those, the ones who might have been on Good Morning Britain 10, 15 years ago, their whole thing wasn't, I'm just doing it with strangers.
But that wasn't my interest in her. My interest in her was that, like, I think this is going to sound disingenuous when I say it's my genuine interest is that we have had, I'm going to sound like I'm on such a soapbox. I'm going to sound like I'm just like lying. But we're in a period of time where coming out of university, graduating from university and going into work is not rewarding. And there are many people who are now pursuing content creation, whether that be OnlyFans, whether that be attempting to be an influencer on YouTube or trying, you see it all the time. Like, God bless them. But I do see a lot of like people I know attempting to be like a beauty guru or something like that and sell stuff on Instagram. And it's embarrassing until it's not, right? It's embarrassing until you're making a lot of money, which I guess is the same concept for OnlyFans. And my genuine interest in her came from, you have managed to do this to a level that is inconceivable. Like you have literally like blitzed through.
Yeah.
And you have become essentially the CEO of banging men for money. Mm. And that was interesting to me. Mm. And I was like, how bleak is the job market that so many people are now trying to do this?
How bleak is recruitment?
Yeah.
Is that what we should be talking about? How depressing a sector is the recruitment? But I'm not here to like challenge you guys and say you did a poor job. Like I'm not trying to say that. So I don't think you did. I just think one of the less discussed things about Bonnie Blue's potential influence is the fact that the whole point is that it's real and they're real and this could be you. And so when you see pull my hair, spit on me, I love a condom wrapper on my face, it will legitimize that to young men who, in a way that it maybe didn't in the past when you knew that they were both performers, in a way that it didn't in the past where you knew you were never going to end up in a room with that person. I think that is maybe one of the risks of what she does. I also agree with you. I don't think she's to blame. I think it was inevitable that someone was going to do this eventually, and I think there are far worse like influences on young men's sexual behaviour out there. I mean, she went and met Andrew Tate. Like at one point, the journalist is like, I think he's been charged with sexual assault. And that Josh guy's like, yeah, we're buzzing to meet him though.
You've been watching a clip from the Politics Joe podcast. If you'd like to watch the rest, please head to patreon.com/PoliticsJOE. It's the only place you can watch podcast episodes in full for as little as £4 a month. You get access to the video podcast as well as the group chat, and you get first access to live event tickets, the first of which is happening in just over a week's time. We're very excited. It's sold out in 4 minutes. We're very excited to have a beer, have a chat, have a natter with all of you. So we will see you then, £4 a month, patreon.com/PoliticsJOE.